The moment I saw Karen standing on my front porch with a manila envelope and that smile, I knew everything was about to change. It was Tuesday morning, late March 2025, and I'd just returned from my jog when she intercepted me. "Emma, we need to talk about your house," Karen said, her manicured nails tapping the envelope. My house. The Cape Cod my grandmother left me 6 months ago. The house filled with summer memories, baking cookies, porch swing afternoons. The house Karen had been eyeing since I moved in. "What about it?" I asked. Karen thrust the envelope toward me. "It's not exactly your house. Not entirely." My stomach dropped. Inside were official documents with county seals. Karen's name was listed as co-owner of my property. "This is a mistake," I stammered. "My grandmother left this to me. I have the will, the deed. I went through probate. Did you?" Karen's voice sharpened. "County records show your grandmother added my name to the deed in 2022. We were very close. She trusted me. Now it's time we discussed selling. I've contacted several developers interested in this lot." My hands shook. Grandma never liked Karen. She'd complained constantly about her snooping, trying to cite her for ridiculous HOA violations. "I'm calling my lawyer." Karen's expression hardened. "Legal battles are expensive, sweetie." "I have all the time and money in the world." "Do you?" As a 28-year-old teacher with student loans, we both knew the answer. Karen walked back to her house, leaving me devastated. I called Marcus Chun, my lawyer. His reaction wasn't reassuring. "Scan those documents immediately," he said tensely. "If someone forged your grandmother's signature and filed fraudulent documents, this is serious." I spent the day scanning papers, trying not to break down. The county confirmed a deed modification filed October 2022, adding Karen Michelle Henderson as but Grandma was sharp then. She'd never have done this. Karen forged it. Next morning at 6, unable to sleep, I heard a knock. Barbara Rodriguez, our HOA president, stood there with 2 coffees. Barbara was early 60s, retired school principal, with silver hair in a sleek bob. Fair but firm. Electedora. President 3 years ago after the previous president tried fining someone $2,000 for wrong beige paint shade. "Emma, I heard about Karen," Barbara said, handing me coffee. I welcomed her gratefully. Barbara had been friends with Grandma. "How did you hear?" "Karen emailed the entire HOA board last night claiming she's now a property owner here, demanding we add her to communications, mentioning exciting changes needing board approval." "Barbara, I don't understand. These documents look official, but Grandma would never add her to the deed." Barbara looked at me intently. "Your grandmother came to me 6 months before she passed, worried about Karen. Karen had been pressuring her to sell, claiming the property would be worth more developed. Your grandmother refused but was concerned. Why didn't you tell me? She made me promise not to worry you. Said you had enough stress with your new job and divorce. But now... ... Barbara paused. "Karen's been planning this. She's counting on you not having resources to fight. My lawyer says it could cost tens of thousands, even proving the documents are fake." Barbara walked to my window, looking at Karen's house. "Then we don't fight in court." "Not yet. Not yet." "We fight my way." "What do you mean?" Barbara smiled slightly. "I've been HOA president 3 years. School principal 25 years before that. I know how to deal with bullies. Karen made a mistake bringing the HOA into this. Now she's on my radar." Over the next days, Barbara became my investigator. She requested all documents Karen filed with the county. She reached out to neighbors who'd had issues with Karen. What we discovered was disturbing. Karen had a pattern. 15 years in real estate, specializing in property acquisition. She found properties, harassed owners until they sold, flipped them for massive profits. For years here, already purchased 3 properties on our street under suspicious circumstances. Mrs. Patricia Wong, 73, said Karen pressured her to sell 2 years ago, claiming structural issues, costing hundreds of thousands. Mrs. Wong was terrified until Barbara arranged an independent inspection, finding nothing wrong. "She's a predator," Barbara said, reviewing evidence in my living room. "She targets vulnerable people. Your grandmother was tough. Wouldn't sell, so Karen found another way." "But how did she file false documents?" Barbara held up papers. "Look at this signature. Supposedly your grandmother's." She pulled out a birthday card Grandma sent me September 2022. A month before Karen supposedly had her sign over ownership, the signatures were completely different. Grandma had distinctive handwriting with the deed signature was crude, clearly forged. "This is proof," I said hopefully. "It's a start," Barbara corrected. "But we must prove Karen forged it. Otherwise, she can claim someone else did and she was deceived." That weekend, Barbara organized a strategy session. Attending were Marcus, Mrs. Wong, a young couple named David and Jennifer Martinez, who'd almost lost their home after Karen reported fake violations, and Robert Chun, a retired police detective. "Karen Henderson has terrorized this neighborhood too long," Barbara said, standing at her dining table. "Time we ended this." Robert leaned forward. "Barbara, this could veer into vigilante territory. We must be careful. I'm not suggesting anything illegal, but homework. Robert, you have law enforcement contacts. Marcus, you understand legal framework. We've documented Karen's behavior for years. Together, we might build a case to not just defend Emma, but expose Karen's entire operation." Marcus opened his laptop. "I've been digging into Karen's financial records. For years, she's purchased 8 properties in 3 neighborhoods, including 4 on this street, each purchased well below market. Each previous owner reported feeling pressured. She flips them within 6 months for triple what she paid." "How much money?" I asked. "Conservatively, 4 years, Karen has netted approximately $3.2 million. Silence. $3.2 million. Suddenly Karen's designer clothes and Mercedes made sense. "Emma, your grandmother's property is on the largest lot here," Barbara said. "If Karen gets control and sells to developers, we're looking at $800,000 profit or more. That's why she's risking forging documents." "But she could go to jail," I said. Robert shook his head. "Not if she thinks you can't afford fighting. Most people, faced with a $50,000 legal battle, walk away. Karen's betting you'll do the same." "She's wrong," I said, anger replacing fear. "This is my grandmother's house. I won't let her steal it." Barbara raised her cup. "That's the spirit." Over the next week, our team worked tirelessly. Robert used police contacts for handwriting analysis. Marcus filed motions to freeze any property sale. David and Jennifer collected statements from neighbors. I spent hours at the county recorder's office, pulling every document Karen filed. I created spreadsheets tracking her purchases, timelines, complaints. I built a case methodically, like building a lesson plan. But Karen wasn't idle. Thursday, I found a certified letter from her attorney demanding I vacate within 30 days or face eviction. I called Marcus. "Can she do this?" "It's a bluff. A Kawana can't evict another without a court order. But she's escalating, trying to scare you into settling. It's working. What if I lose my house? You won't." Barbara found something. Something big. "Meet us at her place tonight at 7. At 7, I walked into Barbara's house to find the team gathered with excited energy. "Emma, sit down," Barbara said. "Robert and I visited Karen's previous neighborhood today. We found someone very interesting. Dorothy Hutchins." Robert pulled out a folder. "Dorothy Hutchins is 4 years ago, she owned a house 2 doors from Karen. Karen approached her repeatedly about selling. Dorothy refused. Then Dorothy received documents claiming she'd signed a contract to sell to Karen. But Dorothy never signed anything. What happened? Dorothy hired a lawyer, proved the signature was forged. Karen claimed her assistant made a mistake. She paid Dorothy $50,000 to settle quietly. No police report, no charges, just a settlement with a non-disclosure clause. But if there's an NDA, Barbara smiled. The NDA prevents discussing the settlement, not the attempted fraud itself, and not testifying in court about Karen's pattern. Marcus looked thrilled. This is exactly what we needed. If we show a pattern, it strengthens our case exponentially. Karen's a serial forger. There's more, Barbara said. Show her, Robert. Robert pulled out a photocopy. Look at the signature on this forged document. He placed it next to my grandmother's forged deed. Now look at this one. Different signatures, one supposedly Dorothy's, one Grandma's. But something similar, the way the pen lifted between letters. Consistent pressure pattern. Same forger, Robert said confidently. I'd bet my pension that forger is Karen Henderson. The room erupted in conversation, but I was stuck on one detail. Barbara, how did you know to look for Dorothy? Barbara's expression grew serious. Your grandmother told me. 2 months before she died, she called late one night, said she'd been digging into Karen's background and found out about Dorothy. She was planning to warn you about Karen, but then she got sick. ... double quotes. My eyes filled with tears. Even dying, Grandma tried protecting me. She loved you so much, Barbara said softly. She'd be so proud you're fighting back. What's our next move? Marcus closed his laptop. Monday morning, I'm filing a criminal complaint against Karen for fraud and forgery. Also filing a civil suit for quiet title action, disputing her claim, including Dorothy's case as evidence of a pattern. Won't that be expensive? I'm taking your case pro bono. What Karen's doing is personal now. My grandmother lost her home to a predatory scam when I was in law school, part of why I became a real estate attorney. I won't let it happen to you. Barbara raised her hand slightly. The HOA board met this afternoon. We voted unanimously to support Emma, including funding an independent investigation into all Karen's transactions. If she forged other documents, we'll find them. I looked around at these people rallying around me because it was right. I don't know how to thank you. Thank us by not giving up, David said, by fighting back. If she gets away with this, she'll do it to someone else. As people left, Barbara pulled me aside. When we file these complaints Monday, Karen will retaliate. She'll get nasty. Can you handle that? I thought about Grandma, those summer porches, the garden, memories in every corner. I can handle it. Good! Barbara smiled warmly at me. Your grandmother told me you were tougher than you looked. She was absolutely right about you. I drove home that evening feeling hope. Real, genuine hope that I could win this fight. But as I pulled into my driveway, I saw something chilling. Karen stood in my yard with a surveyor and someone in a suit. She waved cheerfully. Emma, perfect timing. This is Greg from Horizon Development. We're surveying before moving forward with the sale. Isn't this exciting? The suit looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, I thought all owners agreed. She's lying, I said firmly. She doesn't own this. She forged documents. Monday, she's being charged with fraud. Karen's smile never wavered, but something flickered in her eyes. Fear, anger. Emma, sweetie, I think the stress of all this is really getting to you. Maybe you should go inside and rest. Take some time to think clearly. We'll just finish up out here. No, I said, pulling out my phone. You'll get off my property right now, or I'm calling the police. This is harassment. This is my property too, Karen said, her voice taking on that sharp edge again. According to the county records, I have every legal right to be here. You're the one who's trespassing on my property rights. Greg from the development company shifted uncomfortably. Ladies, maybe we should reschedule this when everyone is on the same page about ownership. The hell you do, came a voice behind me. I turned to see Barbara marching across my lawn with Robert and David right behind her. Karen, you have exactly 30 seconds to get off Emma's property before I call the police myself. And unlike Emma, I have a retired detective right here who'd be more than happy to place you under citizen's arrest for trespassing. The surveyor and developer didn't wait for Karen's response. They packed up their equipment, and practically ran to their cars, clearly wanting no part of whatever drama was unfolding. I heard car doors slam and engines start as they couldn't get away fast enough. Karen stood there for a long moment, her perfect facade finally cracking, her jaw clenched, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I saw the real Karen, the calculating predator beneath the polished exterior. "This isn't over," she hissed at me, her voice low and venomous. "You have no idea who you're dealing with, no idea what I'm capable of. You're making a huge mistake fighting me on this." Barbara stepped forward, putting herself physically between Karen and me. She stood tall, her hands on her hips, every inch the formidable school principal she'd been for 25 years. "Actually, Karen, I think we have a very good idea of exactly what you're capable of. You're capable of forgery, fraud, and extortion. And in about 72 hours, the police are going to know all about it too. Now get off this property before I make that phone call." Karen stalked back to her house, slamming her door so hard I heard it from where I stood. The sound echoed through the quiet street. The three of us, May, Barbara, and Robert, stood there in silence for a moment, the adrenaline still pumping through my veins. "She knows," Robert said quietly, breaking the silence. "She knows we found Dorothy. She knows we've connected the dots. That's why she's rushing to get the development company involved. She's trying to create facts on the ground, make it harder for you to fight back. It's a classic intimidation tactic." "Will it work?" I asked, my voice small, despite the support surrounding me. Barbara shook her head decisively. "Not a chance. Emma, no reputable developer will touch this property once they know there's an active title dispute. Karen's desperate now, and desperate people make mistakes, big mistakes." As I watched Barbara and Robert walk back to their houses, I looked up at my grandmother's house and made a silent promise. I would fight for this. For Grandma, for Dorothy, for everyone Karen had bullied. For the first time since this nightmare began, I believed I could win. What I didn't know was that Karen had one more card to play. When she played it, everything would be turned upside down. Monday morning arrived with the weight of impending battle. I barely slept Sunday night. At 7:30, my phone rang. It was Marcus. "Emma, we have a problem. Karen filed an emergency restraining order against you Saturday evening. Claims you've been harassing and threatening her. There's a hearing Wednesday morning." My stomach dropped. "That's insane. She's been harassing me." No, but it's a delay tactic. We can't file criminal complaints while she has an active restraining order. It muddies the waters legally. So what do? We fight it. Document every interaction with Karen. Every text, email, conversation with witnesses. Barbara's testimony will be crucial. Meet me at my office in an hour. I called Barbara immediately. She answered on the first ring. "Emma, I heard. Karen's attorney called me at 6 this morning, trying to interview me as a witness. As if I'd help that woman. What did you tell them?" "To talk to my lawyer." Then I called Robert. "We're not letting her win. Get dressed. We're meeting at Marcus's office on a ward ladder." We sat in Marcus's conference room. Barbara had brought Robert, Mrs. Wong, and the Martinez couple. Everyone looked grim but determined. Marcus spread papers across the table. "Karen's petition is full of lies. Claims Emma threatened her physically 3 times, damaged her property. Even claims Emma tried to run her over 2 weeks ago. Completely fabricated," I shouted. "I know," Marcus said calmly, "which is why we're destroying her credibility." "Barbara, you witnessed Friday evening. Can you testify?" Barbara nodded firmly. "Absolutely. Absolutely. Karen was trespassing on Emma's property with contractors. Emma only asked her to leave. Karen became aggressive." "I can back that up," Robert added. "I'm a retired detective with 30 years' experience. I know aggressive behavior. Emma wasn't aggressive. Karen was." Marcus made notes. "Good. Jennifer, David, Karen has filed false reports against you before?" David nodded. 3 years ago, she reported us for trash cans out overnight. We have security footage proving our cans were put away at 6 p.m. She lied. Do you still have that footage? Every second. Marcus smiled slightly. Karen just made a critical error. She's established a pattern. That's going to hurt her credibility. Now, Emma, tell me about your interactions with Karen over 6 months. I spent the next hour recounting every conversation, every uncomfortable encounter. Marcus recorded everything. Barbara raised her hand. I have text messages from Emma's grandmother from 2023 and 2024. She complained about Karen's harassment. In one message, she specifically wrote she feared Karen would try something after she died. Barbara pulled out her phone. Here, from July 20th, 2023. Barbara, I'm worried about Emma inheriting the house. That Henderson woman keeps asking about my will. It's unseemly and frightening. Please keep an eye on Emma when I'm gone. The room fell silent. That's powerful evidence, Marcus said quietly. It shows premeditation. She was planning this 2 years ago. May I screenshot these for our defense filing? Of course, Barbara said. Over 2 days, our team worked tirelessly. Marcus filed a comprehensive response, including 23 pages of exhibits, witness statements, security footage, text messages, and Robert's professional assessment. Tuesday afternoon, I received notice that Karen filed a civil lawsuit against me for slander and defamation. She sought $500,000 in damages. I called Marcus in panic. How is she allowed to keep filing false claims? Because she has money for aggressive legal tactics. But Emma, this helps us. Every frivolous lawsuit makes her look desperate and less credible. Wednesday morning arrived. The courthouse was imposing, and I felt small walking up its steps. Barbara, Marcos, Robert, and Mrs. Wang accompanied me. Inside the courtroom, I saw Karen for the first time since Friday. She sat with her attorney in an expensive suit. She wore a conservative dress, looking vulnerable and scared a complete act. Judge Patricia Morrison entered. She was a black woman in her 50s, with no-nonsense authority. This is a hearing on the restraining order petition filed by Karen Henderson against Emma Sullivan, Judge Morrison began. Karen's attorney, Richard Blackwood, painted me as unstable and violent. He claimed I'd damaged Karen's car, thrown rocks at her windows, made death threats. Every word was a lie. I felt my face burning with rage and humiliation. Then Marcus presented his case. Your Honor, Ms. Henderson's petition is entirely fabricated. First, Exhibit A. Security camera footage from the evening Ms. Henderson claims Ms. Sullivan tried to run her over. Marcus played the footage. It showed my car pulling into my driveway normally 2 weeks ago. Karen wasn't near the street. She was on her own porch, watering plants. As you see, Miss Sullivan's car was never near Miss Henderson. The alleged incident never occurred. Karen's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client may have been mistaken about the date your client swore under penalty of perjury. This occurred on this specific date, Marcus interrupted. She wasn't mistaken. She lied. Judge Morrison's expression darkened. Continue, Mr. Chun. Marcus presented exhibit after exhibit. The most damning was Robert's professional testimony. Your Honor, I witnessed Friday evening. Miss Henderson was trespassing, preparing to develop land she doesn't legally own. When Miss Sullivan asked her to leave, Miss Henderson became verbally aggressive. At no point did Miss Sullivan behave in a manner warranting a restraining order. Then Barbara testified. Senora Rodriguez, what is your relationship to the parties? Judge Morrison asked. I'm the HOA president, and was a close friend of Emma's grandmother. I've known both parties for several years. Tell me about Helen Sullivan's relationship with Ms. Henderson. Barbara straightened. Helen actively disliked and feared Karen Henderson. Karen repeatedly pressured Helen to sell. In text messages from Helen, she explicitly stated she worried Karen would steal the property after her death. Judge Morrison read the submitted messages, her expression growing severe. Mr. Blackwood, does your client wish to respond? Karen's attorney whispered urgently with Karen. who looked furious. "I've heard enough," Judge Morrison interrupted. Ms. Henderson approached the bench. Karen and her attorney approached nervously. "Senora Henderson, this court takes false reporting seriously. Evidence suggests you filed this petition in bad faith as a litigation tactic. The security footage directly contradicts your sworn testimony." "Your Honor, I'm not finished. Your petition is denied. Furthermore, I'm sanctioning you $1,500 for filing a frivolous motion. File any further baseless actions in my court, and I'll hold you in contempt. Understand?" Karen's face went white, then red. "Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chun, I understand there are other legal matters pending." "Yes, Your Honor. We have evidence." Ms. Henderson forged property documents to fraudulently add herself as "We're preparing criminal charges." Judge Morrison's eyebrows rose. "I see. This hearing has certainly shed light on Ms. Henderson's credibility. You're both dismissed." We walked out in stunned silence. Then, on the courthouse steps, Barbara whooped with victory. I felt lighter than I had in weeks. We won! We actually won! "This was just round one," Marcus cautioned, smiling, "but it's significant. The judge sanctioning her is on record. Every future judge will know Karen filed a false restraining order. It destroys her credibility." Robert clapped my shoulder. "You did good, kid." We celebrated with lunch at a diner. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt genuinely hopeful. But as we finished our meal, Marcus's phone rang. He listened, and his face went pale. That was my investigator. He's been researching Karen. He just found something huge. "What?" I asked. Marcus chose his words carefully. "Karen Henderson isn't who she says she is. Her real name is Catherine Hendricks. She's wanted in 2 other states for real estate fraud identical to what she's trying with you. There are active warrants in Oregon and Nevada." The table went silent. "She's a fugitive?" Barbara asked. "The warrants are recent, issued 3 months ago. She's been using slightly different names in each state." My investigator matched her photo, social security number, behavior pattern. I felt dizzy. What does this mean? "We contact the FBI. This is federal jurisdiction wire fraud, identity fraud, crossing state lines. Emma, Karen isn't just going to jail. She's going away for a very long time." Robert pulled out his phone. "I have contacts at the Bureau. Let me make calls." As Robert stepped outside, I tried processing everything. Karen wasn't just a predatory agent. She was a professional criminal. "How many people has she done this to?" I asked quietly. Marcus scrolled through his phone. "According to this, at least 12 confirmed cases across Oregon, Nevada, and here. Probably more undiscovered. She targets elderly homeowners, particularly women living alone. After they die, she forges documents. Exactly what she tried with my grandmother," I said, feeling sick. Barbara squeezed my hand. "But your grandmother was too smart. She saw through Karen and warned us. That's why we're winning." Robert returned, expression grim. "FBI's interested. Very interested. Agent Sarah Martinez in White Collar Crimes is requesting all documentation. They're opening a formal investigation immediately." "How long until they arrest her?" "Primera. Asketh?" "Could be days or weeks. They need an airtight case. But Emma, be careful. If Karen realizes we're onto her, she might run or do something desperate." "Like what?" "Like destroy evidence or intimidate witnesses. Stay with friends for the next few days. Don't go home alone." Barbara cut off my protest. "You're staying with me. No arguments. Robert's right. Karen's cornered, and cornered predators are dangerous." That evening, I packed a bag and moved into Barbara's guest room. How had my peaceful existence as a teacher turned into this nightmare? Barbara made tea, and we sat in her living room. "Your grandmother would be proud," Barbara said quietly. "Helen always said you were stronger than you knew." I don't feel strong. I feel terrified. That's what strength is, being terrified and doing the right thing anyway. You could have walked away, but you didn't. That takes real courage. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. You're making a huge mistake. Drop the charges, and this can all go away. Last warning. I showed Barbara, who immediately called Robert. He arrived within 15 minutes. This is witness intimidation, Robert said, photographing the text. Save this. Don't respond. Karen's getting desperate. We need to accelerate the FBI investigation. Next morning, Agent Martinez arrived with 2 other agents. She was no-nonsense, late 30s, and got straight to business. Ms. Sullivan, we've been tracking Catherine Hendricks, Karen Henderson for 6 months. She's part of a larger network of real estate fraudsters operating across the western United States. Your case might be the break we need. There are more people involved, I asked. We believe so. Someone's providing her with professional quality forgeries that fool county recorders. We want to flip Karen, get her to testify against her partners for a reduced sentence. But we need your help. What kind of help? Agent Martinez leaned forward. We need you to wear a wire. Confront Karen. Get her talking about the forged documents. If we can get her to admit on tape that she knew the documents were fake, that she paid someone to create them, we can pressure her into cooperating. I felt my breath catch. You want me to talk to her? Alone. You wouldn't be alone. A hence near be listening to everything. You'd be perfectly safe. Karen's a con artist, not violent. She uses the legal system as a weapon. I looked at Barbara, who nodded slowly. Your choice, Emma. But this could end it. I thought about my grandmother, about Dorothy Hutchins, about the 12 other victims. How many more would Karen hurt? Okay, I said. I'll do it. 2 days later, I stood outside Karen's door with a wire taped to my chest and federal agents positioned in unmarked cars. My hands shook as I rang the doorbell. Karen answered, age widening. Emma, what are you doing here? We need to talk about the house, about ending this. Something flickered in her expression. Come in. I stepped into her impeccably decorated house, expensive furniture and art, all paid for with stolen money. Want coffee? Karen asked. No. I'll get straight to the point. I know about Oregon and Nevada. I know your real name is Catherine Hendricks. I know you've done this before. Karen's face went still. Then she smiled. Took you long enough. I honestly thought you'd roll over like the others. You're tougher than you look. The others? How many others? Kara? She shrugged. Does it matter? They were all going to die anyway. Old, sick, no family. I just made sure their property went to someone who'd use it properly. I felt rage build. My grandmother had family. She had me. Your grandmother was stubborn. Do you know how much that property is worth? How much value she was wasting? I offered fair prices. Se refusé. So I found another way. By forging her signature. Karen walked to her window. The system makes it too easy. County recorders barely check signatures. You just need the right paperwork, right seals. There are people who specialize in that. For a price. Who? Who makes the documents? She turned back, something dangerous in her eyes. Why? You're thinking of getting into the business yourself. I want to understand how you sleep at night. I sleep very well. On expensive sheets, in a paid-off house. You should try it. The FBI is investigating you. It's over. Karen. For the first time, real fear crossed her face. You're bluffing. Am I? They know about Oregon. Nevada. All 12 victims. They're building a case that's going to put you away for 20 years. Karen's composure cracked. You stupid girl. You have no idea what you've done. The people I work with, don't take kindly to attention. If the FBI gets involved, if I go down, I'm taking everyone with me, including you. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Drop this now. Walk away. Let me have the house, and everyone lives their life. Keep pushing, and you'll regret it. That's when Agent Martinez and her team burst through the door. FBI. Karen Henderson, you're under arrest for wire fraud, identity fraud, and witness intimidation. Karen's face went through 5 expressions in 2 seconds, landing on pure rage as she looked at me. You're wearing a wire, you set me up. You did this to yourself, I said quietly. As they led her away in handcuffs, she screamed threats and obscenities, but all I felt was relief. It was finally over, or so I thought. 3 hours later, giving my statement at the FBI field office, Agent Martinez received a phone call. She listened, her expression darkening. She looked at me with concern. The room suddenly felt very cold. When agents searched the house, they found a second set of forged documents. These did not add Karen to the deed. They removed me entirely, making her the sole owner. According to timestamps, she filed them with the county recorder yesterday morning. As of right now, legally, I did not own the house anymore. I stared at Agent Martinez, trying to process her words. Legally, I didn't own my grandmother's house anymore. After everything we'd just been through, after Karen's arrest, she'd still managed to steal my home. How is that possible? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She's in custody. She's under arrest. Agent Martinez pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot of the county recorder's website. There it was, time-stamped from yesterday morning at 9:45 a.m. A new deed modification removing Emma Sullivan as owner and listing Karen Henderson as sole proprietor. She must have known we were closing in. Agent Martinez said grimly. She filed this as insurance. Even if she goes to prison, she's positioned to either sell the property or use it as leverage in a plea deal. Barbara, who'd driven to the FBI office, as soon as she heard I was there, put her hand on my shoulder. This can't be legal. The documents are forged. Can't we just have them reversed? It's not that simple, Marcus said. Having joined us via video call on Agent Martinez's laptop, yes, the documents are forged, but they're filed with the county. The county recorder's office has accepted them as legitimate. To reverse them, we need to go through the courts, which could take months. And in the meantime, legally speaking, Karen owns the property. But she's in jail, I shouted, feeling my composure finally crack. She's arrested for fraud. How can she own anything? Being arrested doesn't strip you of your property rights, Agent Martinez explained gently. Not until she's convicted. And even then, the property wouldn't automatically revert to you. We'd have to prove in civil court that the deed is fraudulent and have a judge order it reversed. Robert, who'd also arrived at the FBI office, leaned forward. How long are we talking about? Weeks? Months? Marcus's face on the screen looked grim. In a best-case scenario, with an expedited hearing, we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks. More realistically, 3 to 4 months? 3 to 4 months? I felt like I couldn't breathe. I'm supposed to just... What? Not have a home for 4 months. You have a home with me for as long as you need, Barbara said firmly, raising her hand in that authoritative gesture I'd come to know so well. That's not the issue. The issue is justice. Agent Martinez closed her laptop. There might be another way. If we can get Karen to voluntarily sign the property back over to you as part of a plea agreement, we could resolve this much faster. Why would she do that? Robert asked skeptically. Because we have her dead to rights on federal charges. Wire fraud, identity fraud, interstate fraud, witness intimidation. We're talking 20 to 25 years in federal prison. If she cooperates fully, testifies against her document, forger, and any other co-conspirators, and makes her victims whole again, we might be able to get that down to 10 to 12 years. It's still a long time, but it's better than spending the rest of her life behind bars. So we have to make a deal with her, I said bitterly. The woman who tried to steal my house gets a lighter sentence. Welcome to the justice system, Agent Martinez said with a sad smile. It's not perfect, but it's what we have. The question is, what do you want to do? We can go the long route, criminal trial. Civil suit, everything by the book. You'll probably win, eventually. Or we can try to negotiate a plea deal that gets you your house back quickly and also helps us take down a larger criminal network. I looked at Barbara, 10 at Robert. What do you think? Barbara spoke first. I think you've been through enough. I think you deserve to have your home back as quickly as possible. And I think if making a deal means stopping Karen from hurting anyone else, that's worth considering. Robert nodded. I agree. As a former cop, I don't love the idea of criminals getting lighter sentences, but as someone who cares about you, I want you to get your life back. The long legal route is going to cost you months of stress and probably tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees, even with Marcus working pro bono on some of it. I turned back to Agent Martinez. Okay, let's try the plea deal, but I want something in writing that says she gives up any and all claim to my property. Forever done, Agent Martinez said. I'll have our prosecutors draw up a preliminary agreement. But Emma, you should know Karen's attorney is going to fight this. She's looking at serious time, and she's going to want to hold on to every piece of leverage she has. The next day, I sat in a conference room at the FBI field office with Marcus, Barbara, and Agent Martinez. Across the table sat Karen and her attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Dunn, who'd replaced Richard Blackwood after his conflict of interest became apparent. Karen looked different than she had during her arrest. She was calm, composed, wearing an orange jumpsuit, but somehow still managing to look put together. She smiled slightly when she saw me, and I felt my stomach turn. Miss Sullivan, Patricia Dunn began. My client is willing to consider a plea agreement, but she wants certain assurances. Your client is facing 25 years in federal prison, Agent Martinez said flatly. She's not in a position to demand much. Nevertheless, Patricia continued smoothly, Ms. Henderson is willing to provide testimony against her document supplier and return Ms. Sullivan's property, but only if the prosecution agrees to recommend no more than 8 years, with possibility of parole after 8 years. I burst out. She tried to steal my house. She's stolen from 12 other people. And you want her to serve 8 years. Karen leaned forward, speaking for the first time. Emma, sweetie, let's be realistic. You want your house back quickly, right? Without months of legal battles. I'm offering you a way to do that, but I need something in return. Don't call me sweetie, I said through gritted teeth. Marcus put a hand on my arm. Agent Martinez, can we have a moment to confer with our client? We stepped out into the hallway. I was shaking with rage. 8 years isn't enough, I said. It's not justice. No, it's not, Marcus agreed. But, Emma, here's the reality. If we go to trial, even with all our evidence, there's a chance Karen could win. Juries are unpredictable, and even if she loses, the trial alone will take a year, maybe longer. Then the appeals process. And separately, you'd have to fight a civil suit to get your house back. We're talking about 2 to 3 years of your life, consumed by legal battles. He's right, Barbara said quietly. Primera, ate, y tú, but sometimes justice isn't about punishment. It's about making things right and moving forward. I took a deep breath. What if we counteroffer 12 years, no parole eligibility, until she's served at least 8, and she doesn't just give back my house she has, to help recover property or provide restitution to all her other victims? Marcus smiled. Now you're thinking like a lawyer. Let me see what I can do. The negotiations took 3 more hours. Karen's attorney pushed back hard, but Agent Martinez made it clear that without a deal, they were going to prosecute Karen to the fullest extent of the law and push for the maximum sentence. Finally, we reached an agreement. Karen would plead guilty to all charges, serve 12 years in federal prison with no parole eligibility, until year 8. Return my property immediately. Provide detailed information about her document, forger, and criminal network, and establish a restitution fund for her other victims from the sale of her assets. In return, the prosecution would recommend 12 years instead of 25, and wouldn't pursue additional charges in other jurisdictions. Do we have a deal? Patricia Dunn asked. I looked at Karen across the table. She looked back at me, and for the first time I saw something that might have been remorse, or maybe just resignation. Deal, I said. Karen signed the paperwork. So did I. And just like that, my grandmother's house was mine again. As we were leaving the conference room, Karen called out to me. "Emma Wait." I turned back reluctantly. "I'm sorry," Karen said quietly. "For what it's worth, I really am sorry. Your grandmother was a good woman. She deserved better than what I tried to do." I wanted to yell at her. I wanted to tell her that her apology meant nothing, that Sarah didn't undo the months of stress and fear and anger. But looking at her, about to spend the next 12 years of her life in prison, I realized that my anger wasn't going to change anything. "I hope you use those 12 years to become a better person," I said finally, "because the person you are now isn't worth much." Karen nodded slowly. "That's fair." I walked out of the FBI building into bright afternoon sunlight. Barbara and Robert were waiting for me on the steps, along with Mrs. Wang and the Martinez couple, who'd come to support me. "It's over," I said, and suddenly I was crying. "It's really over." Barbara hugged me tightly. "Yes, honey, it's really over. You won." The next week passed in a blur of paperwork and procedures. The county recorder's office officially reversed Karen's fraudulent deed modification. My name was restored as the sole legal owner of my grandmother's property. Ola Karen's Asetsur house next door, her expensive car, her bank accounts were seized by the federal government and liquidated. The money would go into a restitution fund for her victims, including me, though I made the decision to donate my portion to a legal aid fund specifically for elderly homeowners facing predatory real estate schemes. It felt like the right way to honor my grandmother's memory. Karen's sentencing hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. Aja Martinez assured me I wouldn't have to attend if I didn't want to, but I decided I needed to see it through to the end. I needed closure. On a sunny Saturday morning, 2 weeks after Karen's arrest, I finally moved back into my grandmother's house. Barbara, Robert, Mrs. Wong, David, and Jennifer Martinez, and even Marcus all came to help me settle back in. We spent the day cleaning, organizing, and making the house feel like mine again. Barbara brought over plants for the garden. Mrs. Wong made her famous dumplings for lunch. The Martinez couple helped me hang new curtains in the living room. Robert fixed a squeaky hinge on the front door that had been bothering me for months. "Speech?" Robert called out, as we finished unpacking the last box in the late afternoon. I laughed. "I don't have a speech prepared." "Wing it," Barbara said with a grin, raising her coffee cup. I looked around at these people who'd become my family over the past few weeks. My throat tightened with emotion. "I just want to say, thank you, all of you. You didn't have to help me. You didn't have to stand up to Karen. Didn't have to spend your time and energy fighting for me. But you did, and I'll never forget that. You showed me what real community looks like." "That's what neighbors do," Mrs. Wong said, patting my hand gently. "We look out for each other, especially when we have Barbara as our HOA president," David added, and everyone laughed. Barbara raised her coffee cup higher, to Emma, to standing up to bullies, and to the power of community. Everyone cheered and clinked their cups together. As people started heading home in the late afternoon, Barbara pulled me aside on the porch. "There's something you should know," she said. "The HOA board met yesterday. We voted unanimously to create a new position, Neighborhood Watch Coordinator, and we'd like you to consider taking it." "Me, but I don't know anything about—" "You know about standing up for what's right?" Barbara interrupted gently. "You know about fighting for justice. You know about protecting your home and your neighbors. That's exactly what we need. Plus, it comes with a small stipend. Not much, but enough to help with any remaining legal fees. I felt tears prick my eyes again. You guys are too much. Is that a yes? That's a yes. That evening, after everyone had left, I sat on my grandmother's porch swing and looked out at the street. My street, my neighborhood, my home. The setting sun painted everything in golden light, and I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in months. My phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Congratulations on your victory. But you should know Karen wasn't working alone, and some of her partners aren't happy about her cooperation with the FBI. Be careful, my blood ran cold. The peace shattered instantly. I immediately called Agent Martinez. Agent Martinez, I just got a threatening text. What did it say? Her voice was instantly alert. All business. I read it to her, word for word. There was a long pause on the other end. Emma, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Pack a bag. Don't tell anyone where you're going, and get somewhere safe. No. What? Why? What's happening? Because Karen's document forger just made bail 2 hours ago, and according to our intelligence, he knows you're the reason Karen's cooperating with federal investigators. Emma, you're in danger. Real danger. I looked out at the peaceful suburban street, the house I'd fought so hard to keep, the home that represented everything my grandmother had left me, and I realized that my nightmare wasn't over. It was just beginning. Across the street, I saw a dark sedan with tinted windows that I didn't recognize. It had been parked there for the past hour, engine running, exhaust visible in the cooling evening air. As I watched, frozen in place, the driver's side door opened slowly. I ran inside and locked the door, my hands shaking so badly I could barely turn the deadbolt. I dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? Someone's watching my house. I think they're going to. The lights went out. All of them. All of them. Not just my house. The entire neighborhood went dark in an instant, and I heard footsteps on my porch. Slow. Deliberate, combing closer. The footsteps on my porch stopped right outside my door. In the darkness, I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. The 911 operator was still on the line. Ma'am, are you still there? Police are on their way. Stay on the line with me. Someone's on my porch, I whispered, backing away from the door. The power's out. I can't see anything. Then I heard a voice. Barbara's voice. Emma. Emma, it's me. Open the door. I nearly collapsed with relief. I fumbled in the darkness to unlock the door, and Barbara rushed in with a flashlight, followed closely by Robert. Are you okay? Barbara asked, pulling me into a quick hug. We saw the power go out from my house. Then I saw that car across the street and I knew something was wrong. There's someone watching my house, I said, my voice shaking. Agent Martinez said Karen's document forger made bail and he might be coming after me. Robert was already at the window, peering through the curtains. The sedan's still there, engines running. I can't see inside with the tinted windows. Within minutes, I heard 3 police cars pulled up, lights flashing red and blue against the dark street. Officers surrounded the suspicious sedan, approaching with weapons drawn and flashlights cutting through the darkness. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out, hands raised high above his head. But it wasn't a threatening criminal. It was Agent Martinez's partner, Agent Chun. Robert's phone rang. He answered, listened, then looked at me with a sheepish expression. That's FBI surveillance. Agent Martinez posted them to watch her house after she got intelligence about the forger making bail. They've been protecting you all evening. I felt my knees go weak. So, I'm not in immediate danger. Actually, came Agent Martinez's voice from behind. Ashij just arrived with more agents you are. But not from that car. Emma, we need to get you out of here. Now, what's happening? Bada demanded, raising her hand in that authoritative gesture I'd come to know so well. What aren't you telling us? Agent Martinez looked grim. Karen's document forger is named Vincent Corelli. He's not just a forger, he's connected to organized crime families in 3 states. And according to our sources, he put out a contract on Emma 2 hours ago, $10,000 to anyone who makes her disappear before the grand jury hearing. The room went silent. The weight of those words hung in the air. A hit, Robert said in disbelief. An actual contract killing? Over a real estate fraud case. Vincent has $47 million tied up in this operation, Agent Martinez explained. Properties stolen, sold, profits laundered through shell companies. Emma's testimony and Karen's cooperation could bring down his entire network spanning 7 states. To him, $10,000 is nothing to protect $47 million. So what do we do? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. We're putting you in protective custody. Tonight, there's a safe house 2 hours from here in the mountains. You'll stay there until we arrest Vincent and neutralize the threat. How long will that take? Barbara asked. Could be days, could be weeks. He's slippery. This is his 3rd bail in 5 years. He has excellent lawyers and knows how to hide. I looked around my grandmother's living room, the house I'd fought so hard to keep. The home that represented everything my grandmother had left me. I just got my home back, and now I have to leave it again. Only temporarily, Agent Martinez assured me. And Emma, you won't be alone. We can bring one person with you to the safe house. Family or close friend. I'll go, Barbara said immediately, without hesitation. Barbara, you don't have to. Yes, I do, Barbara interrupted firmly. Your grandmother asked me to look after you. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Besides, the HOA can survive without me for a few weeks. Robert can fill in as acting president. Robert nodded. She's right. And Emma, we'll watch your house. Make sure everything's taken care of. You focus on staying safe. 20 minutes later, I was in an unmarked FBI van with Barbara, Agent Martinez, and 2 other agents. We drove through the night, changing routes several times to make sure we weren't followed. Doubling back, taking side roads through areas I'd never seen before. The safe house turned out to be a modest cabin in the mountains, surrounded by tall pine trees and monitored by hidden security cameras. 2 agents would be stationed outside at all times, rotating in 8-hour shifts. It's not the Ritz, Agent Martinez said apologetically as she showed us around the 2-bedroom cabin. But it's secure, and it has internet, so you can stay connected to work and family. After Agent Martinez left, Barbara made tea in the small kitchen, and we sat on the cabin's worn but comfortable couch. This is insane, I said, wrapping my hands around the warm mug. 2 months ago, I was just a teacher living in my grandmother's house. Now, I'm in witness protection because of a real estate fraud case. Your grandmother would be so proud of you, Barbara said quietly, standing up to criminals, refusing to be intimidated, making sure justice is served. That takes real courage. Emma, I don't feel courageous. I feel terrified. That's what courage is, doing the right thing, even when you're afraid. Barbara smiled. Besides, you're not alone. You've got an entire neighborhood backing you up. Mrs. Wang has already organized a meal train for when you come home. The Martinez couple is maintaining your garden, and Robert is installing a new security system at your house's treat, he insisted. I felt tears prick my eyes. Why are you all so good to me? Because that's what community means. We take care of our own. Your fight became our fight. Your grandmother's house is part of our neighborhood's history. We're not going to let criminals win. The next 3 days passed slowly. I tried to maintain some normalcy grading papers remotely through my school's online system, video calling my students to check on their progress, reading the books I'd been meaning to get to 4 months. Barbara kept me company, telling stories about my grandmother that I'd never heard before, stories that made me laugh and cry and feel connected to her memory. On the 4th day, Agent Martinez arrived at the cabin with news. Her expression was different, lighter, relieved. We got him. Vincent Corelli was arrested this morning at a hotel in Nevada. He was meeting with another client when our team moved in. He's in federal custody now, and this time there's no bail. The judge denied it based on flight risk and the severity of the charges. "So it's over?" I asked, afraid to hope. "Really, over this time. Really over. You can go home." Barbara drove us back to the neighborhood that evening in her car. As we turned onto my street, I saw something that made me start crying all over again. But this time, from joy. The entire neighborhood was outside. Every house had lights on, porch lights, landscape lights, everything blazing. And people lined the sidewalks holding candles and homemade signs that said, "Welcome home, Emma," and "Neighborhood hero and justice prevailed, and we stand together." Mrs. Wong rushed up as I got out of the car, pulling me into a tight hug. "We wanted you to know you're loved. You're part of this family now and forever." David Martinez handed me a set of keys, new locks on all your doors, front, back, and side. State-of-the-art security system with cameras and motion sensors. You're safe now. Robert presented me with a thick binder full of documentation. "This is every security measure we've implemented on your property and the surrounding area. We also got the entire block to upgrade their systems through a neighborhood security initiative. Karen and Vincent might be gone, but we're making sure nothing like this ever happens again." I looked at Barbara through my tears. "Did you organize all of this?" Barbara smiled, raising her hand slightly in acknowledgement. "I may have made a few phone calls, but everyone wanted to help. You inspired this whole neighborhood? Emma, you showed us what it means to stand up for what's right, no matter the cost." The next 2 weeks flew by in a blur of activity. Karen was formally sentenced to 12 years in federal prison with no early parole. Vincent Corelli and 4 members of his document forgery network were charged with racketeering, fraud, conspiracy, and witness intimidation. The investigation revealed they'd stolen over 100 properties across 7 states, defrauding elderly homeowners of an estimated $93 million over the past decade. Dorothy Hutchins, the woman from Karen's previous neighborhood, called me personally to thank me. Her voice was emotional, grateful. "Because of your courage, I'm getting justice too. The prosecutors are reopening my case. I might actually get compensation after all these years." But the best moment came 6 weeks after my return home. I was in my classroom teaching a lesson on civic responsibility when I got a call from Marcus. "Emma, turn on the news." "Channel 7. Right now." I pulled up the news on my computer. There was Agent Martinez at a press conference, standing next to the FBI director at a podium covered with microphones. "Today, thanks to the courage of witnesses who refused to be intimidated, we've dismantled one of the largest real estate fraud rings in American history," Agent Martinez announced. "The Corelli organization stole from hundreds of victims, primarily elderly homeowners. But one victim, Emma Sullivan, fought back. Her refusal to give up, her willingness to stand up to criminals, helped us bring down this entire network." The FBI director stepped forward. "The Bureau wants to recognize Ms. Sullivan's extraordinary courage. She risked her safety to ensure justice not just for herself, but for countless other victims across multiple states." Today, we're announcing the creation of the Emma Sullivan Elder Protection Fund, a $5 million federal initiative to provide legal assistance to elderly homeowners facing predatory real estate schemes. My students erupted in cheers. "That's our teacher!" someone shouted. "Miss Sullivan's on TV! She's famous!" That evening, the neighborhood threw a celebration party at Barbara's house. Everyone was there. Miss Wong with her famous dumplings and spring rolls, the Martinez couple with their 3 kids who ran around playing tag in the yard, Robert with his terrible but enthusiastic karaoke setup, and dozens of other neighbors I'd gotten to know over these crazy, transformative months. Marcus video-called in from his office, his face beaming on the laptop screen. "Emma, I have one more surprise for you. Remember how Karen's assets were liquidated for the restitution fund? Well, the fund paid out today. Your share is $42,000. But I donated my share to legal aid." I protested. "That was your share of Karen's assets. This is different. This is from the Corelli Network's liquidation. The court ruled that since you were instrumental in bringing them down, you're entitled to compensation for trauma and damages. And before you try to donate this too, let me remind you that you have legal fees and trauma to deal with. Take the money, Emma. You earned it. Barbara raised her glass high. To Emma Sullivan, teacher, fighter, and the best neighbor anyone could ask for. Everyone cheered and clinked glasses as the party wound down and people started heading home, saying their goodbyes with hugs and promises to get together soon. I stood on Barbara's porch looking at my grandmother's house, my house glowing warmly in the evening light. "You okay?" Barbara asked, coming to stand beside me. I'm actually okay. For the first time in months, I feel like I can breathe again, like I can just be myself without looking over my shoulder. Your grandmother would be so proud, not just because you won, but because of how you won. With integrity, with courage, with community supporting you every step of the way. I couldn't have done it without you, Barbara. Without all of you. Barbara smiled, putting her arm around my shoulders. That's the point. You're never supposed to do it alone. That's what family is for. And Emma, you're family now. This neighborhood is your family. 6 months later, I stood in front of a congressional committee in Washington, D.C., wearing my best suit and trying not to be nervous. They were considering new legislation to protect elderly homeowners from predatory real estate fraud legislation that had been directly inspired by my case and the Corelli Network investigation. My grandmother taught me that a home is more than just a building, I testified, my voice steady and clear. It's family history, its memories baked into every corner, its security and comfort. And when someone tries to steal that from you, they're not just committing fraud, they're stealing someone's entire life, their legacy, their peace of mind. The legislation passed unanimously 3 months later. It became known as the Sullivan Act, requiring additional verification procedures for property transfers involving elderly homeowners, mandatory cooling-off periods before finalization, harsh penalties for property deed fraud, and federal funding for legal aid to potential victims. 1 year after Karen first showed up on my porch with that manila envelope, I sat in my grandmother's living room with Barbara, Robert, Mrs. Wang, and the Martinez family. We were celebrating not just my victory, but the neighborhood's transformation into something stronger and more connected. Crime in our area had dropped 47%. Property values had increased by 18%. More importantly, neighbors actually knew each other now. We had block parties, neighborhood watch meetings, community gardens. We'd become a real community, the kind my grandmother had always talked about. Speech, Robert called out, grinning at me, and everyone laughed. I stood up, raising my glass of sparkling cider. A year ago, I thought I'd lost everything. My home, my security, my peace of mind, my sense of safety. But what I found was something better: family. Not the family you're born into, but the family you choose. The family that stands with you when times get tough and refuses to let you face danger alone. To family, Barbara said, raising her glass with a smile. To community, Mrs. Wong added warmly. To Emma, David Martinez said, who taught us all what courage looks like. Everyone clinked glasses together, the sound ringing like bells. That night, after everyone had gone home, I sat on my grandmother's porch swing and looked up at the stars twinkling in the clear night sky. My phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. For a moment, fear gripped me. Then I took a breath and opened it. Ms. Sullivan, this is Dorothy Hutchins. Thanks to your case, I just won my settlement against Karen's network. $55,000. After 4 years of fighting and almost giving up. Thank you for not giving up. You inspired me to keep fighting too. You gave me hope. I smiled and replied, we're stronger together. That's what my grandmother taught me. That's what this whole experience taught me. As I sat there in the peaceful evening, listening to crickets chirp and watching fireflies dance in my grandmother's garden, I realized something important. Karen had tried to take my house, but But what she'd actually given me unintentionally was something far more valuable. A community that would stand together against injustice, a neighborhood that had become a true family. Bonds forged through adversity that would last a lifetime, and that was worth more than any property deed could ever be.